earthworms break it down, and you also want to make sure that the plants have some minerals. And you usually want to have a little manure on the plants. Now we have a book over there on gardening, but to make it just a quick short idea of what the soil should contain, we like to have compost from mineral matter, from vegetable waste from your kitchen. One of the best materials is, for instance, what's left over from your juicing. That's already ground up, right? So when it's ground up and you put it in the compost, it composts very easily and very quickly. So you have a nice pile of maybe a foot of compost, and you want to add 2 or 3 inches of minerals, because the soil requires minerals. Now, some of your best mineral combinations are granite dust. Okay? Granite dust. And where do you get granite dust? Very easy. Places that grind headstones. They got a lot of powder lying around. Take it. They love for you to take it away. Put it on your compost. 2-3 inches. Okay? These minerals are extremely important. Now, you may remember, it's not long ago, that Mount St. Helens blew her top. You remember that? Following which, there were weeks of ashes falling in the surrounding area. You remember that? And the farmers and everybody were horrified, and they were sure that their soil was ruined. On the contrary, their plants were healthy that they had never been before. They had the biggest cabbages as they had never seen before. They had the healthiest, richest soil from these minerals that had fallen out of the mountain there, the ashes. Extremely rich in nutrients. And they had the best fruits and vegetables. Trees, apple trees that had little wormy nothings, all of a sudden were growing big, beautiful apples free of worms and bugs, with all the nutrients and all the defenses in. Okay? So if you live in an area where you happen to be able to find volcanic ash, that's wonderful. If not, you can use things like I mentioned earlier, like granite dust, or some other source of ground up mineral dust is excellent. Okay? You want to put that on top. Then you want to put on top of that some manure, but avoid chicken manure. Chicken are some of the worst, sickest animals of all. And those of you who have been told that red meat is bad and you don't eat red meat, you eat chicken, you make a big mistake. Chicken often is worse than red meat. Chicken are such sick animals. Dr. Virginia Livingston, who studied chicken for many, many years, found that any chicken, unless they scratch outside and get fresh shoots and fresh worms and fresh seeds, if they are fed commercially, those chickens are extremely sick animals. They usually, from the time they hatch, they have to be injected or they don't even hatch. From the time they hatch, if they are not slaughtered on a certain day, a few days later they're dead of disease. And that's the food that's supposed to be healthy for you. So you want to avoid chicken, even if it's organically grown and free of hormones and so on. It's still flesh, it's still deteriorated, it's still fat, it's not good. But certainly if it's commercially raised chicken, you want to stay very far away from it. Now, therefore, also the chicken manure is not good, is not healthy. And that's another thing that's most interesting. I forget now who did these experiments. Oh yes, that's in the book by Pottinger on cats. We have that book there too. Pottinger, who was an MD, made experiments with cats. He didn't do anything to them. He didn't hurt them or harm them in any way, except he changed their diet. He had 6 groups of cats. The first group he fed fresh, raw organ meats. The second group he fed fresh, raw, unpasteurized milk. The third group he fed the same organ meats but cooked. The fourth group the same milk but pasteurized. The fifth group condensed milk, and the sixth group evaporated milk. Now, the first 2 groups, the animals that had raw and undamaged, not heat damaged proteins, he watched them growing and reproducing and healthy, and the second and third and fourth and fifth generation, no problems. But the others that were eating the same food but heat damaged, the same organ meats but cooked, the first generation was relatively healthy. But in the second generation, instead of having 17% calcium in their bones at death, they didn't do anything, they didn't kill them. At death, they had, instead of 17 as the healthy animals, they had 11. Third generation, 7. Fourth generation, 4% calcium. And there was no fifth generation, they couldn't reproduce. The same they found also in other areas. The animals on the cooked foods started to get damaged teeth, damaged gums. They started to get allergic diseases. They started, of course, to get leukemias and other problems. They were no longer kind and friendly and gentle. They started to get aggressive and mean. And they were sick. Now, in the second generation, even the early third, if he now changed them to the raw foods, the raw meat or the raw milk, he was able to reverse most of the damage. But on the third and fourth in the generation, and no fifth, they couldn't even reproduce. Some of the females had dead litters, and so on. So the heat-damaged proteins were extremely bad, but that wasn't all. If he used their droppings, their waste, their feces, to fertilize soil, then he put beans on them. They didn't grow. The feces of the healthy animals, of the raw-fed animals, they were very good, and they produced good, normal, healthy bean shoots and plants. No, cats are meat-eating animals. I doubt it. They have a whole different structure. Dogs is a different story. Cats are not vegetarian animals. Neither are we meat-eating animals, so we shouldn't eat meat. But that's a different story. Anyway, so we are getting back to the fertilizer. The droppings, the feces of the sick animals are bad for your soil, and the droppings of these animals that were damaged because of improper feeding did not produce healthy plants. Okay? Now, that's why we insist that the patients must have organic fruits and vegetables, free of poison and rich in nutrients. Both are important. Free of poison and deficient is useless. How do you know that you're really getting organic foods? It's a bit of a problem. Here in California, we're lucky. We have very thorough controls and certifications. And almost any organic store and health food store that carries organic fruits and vegetables, they're pretty honest and decent. You can ask who the growers are. You can check with the growers. But they're pretty decent. I know in San Diego we have 2 or 3 really excellent stores. They will tell you this is organic and this isn't, marked, okay? So that you can get organic fruits and vegetables. Some of the grocery stores, even like Ralph's, they have a few items that are organic. I buy it because I want to encourage these people to carry more of this stuff, okay? But organic, it's got to be rich in nutrients and free of chemicals. So just dipping it in chlorine or in salt or something like that to get rid of the chemicals isn't enough, because you still have deficient food, okay? Are there questions on organic food?
Would it hurt to put a little chlorine in water that you wash your carrots in?
Would it hurt to put chlorine in water you wash your carrots in? What for? You want to damage your hands? You absorb this stuff.
No, I don't put my hands in it, but I thought the soil around the carrots.
The soil around the carrots doesn't do you any harm, but if any chlorine remains, that does hurt you. Okay, we have unfortunately here also in the United States a problem. Everything has to be perfectly clean. We use all kinds of chemicals to make things clean. People that are professional house cleaners are very ill because of the chemicals and all the cleansers, okay? And sometimes a little bit of dirt that you can see is nowhere near as dangerous as all the chemicals, cleansers, bleaches, and so on that you don't see. Okay? Like I said a little bit earlier, we have kids here that are perfectly clean and scrubbed.